Hello, everyone. Welcome to Relatable Stories. I'm your host, Angeline Miriro Gahadza, and today we are going to be talking about internalized oppression, how to get out of our own way. And with me today is Josie Mpakati. She's my mom, and she's going to help us unpick this issue of internalized oppression. For those that are joining us for the first time, Relatable Stories is a show that is designed to help us to cultivate self-love. It was created where we saw that there are taboo topics that we are not talking about that are keeping us stunted in our growth, and also awareness of these issues is what helps us to actually start to grow. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Josie to the show, and feel free to comment and chat to us about everything that we're going to be talking about today. Hi, Mommy. How are you today?
Hello there. Hi, Angie. How are you doing?
Awesome. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be back.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying, bring Mama back, bring Mama back. But then I wanted a topic that I know that you will be able to actually enjoy as well. So
Okay.
before we get into that, obviously we are both excited to talk about it. I just wanted you to introduce yourself to the crowd. We are also airing on Self Love Journey today,
Mm-hmm.
or Self Love Coaching. And we'll also be on the YouTube channel for those that want to share this link and invite anybody that might want to hear this topic. Please share. Mom, introductions.
Okay. Thanks. So, as you have said before, my name is Josie Ruyumpakati. I'm a mom of six. Yes, six. And I have a passion for women and girls. I'm a Christian, and my values are Christian values, and most of my worldview is shaped by my Christian values. And I'm a communications PR media person by profession, and I get paid to talk. So wherever I'm given a chance to talk, I utilize such chances quite well and very diligently. Thanks for having me on the show.
Awesome. I love the talking part, because I was, for a long time, I was internally oppressing myself about this gift of talking, and
Mhm.
it's so amazing that I am now flourishing in using the gift of talking. A lot of people look at it and be like, "Ah, you're talkative," but I mean, we can do good with all the gifts that God gives us. So
Mhm.
let's get into it, Mom. Internalized oppression. What is
Mhm.
it? I feel like we need to define what internalized oppression is before we can actually unpack how it shows up, as well as sexism and misogyny, because this is where we want to zero into today, just for the sake of our female audience, because today we are targeting them so that they
Mhm.
can be able to understand how it is going, how internalized oppression is getting in their own ways. So maybe we can just put the definitions that we see in the textbooks and online, and then just unpack them. So first one is sexism, which is defined as economic, political, and social discrimination against women based on the belief that the male sex is superior to the female sex. Mom, in your words.
In my way, but I like the you say the textbook definition. I like that it touches on economical, political, social. I would like to add religious discrimination there against women on anything that you know that views women as a lesser gender, so to speak,
Right.
or as they cannot do things the same way or the same things that men do. That's my understanding of it. But I'm quite happy with that definition, and I'll just add religious there.
Okay. And then misogyny. They say misogyny is a method, the law enforcement arm by which the social system reprimands the woman who challenges the status quo or male dominance.
Okay, quite a mouthful. That the law enforcement arm probably of patriarchy, but misogyny on from where I see it, from where I sit, I think misogyny is aspects of hatred and contempt for the for women, for anything female, and it is an inherent hatred, something that sits it deep down in people. I don't want to say in men, because there are also other women who are misogynistic. So it
Right.
sits deep in people, and it manifests itself as a law enforcement arm of patriarchy.
Yes, I totally agree. And to just sort of give a description about these two, um, there's one here that says to say boys will be boys, and
Mhm.
therefore a woman should not wear certain clothes while venturing out at night is sexism. But to make she had it coming rape jokes, that's misogyny. So
Yes.
if people haven't been able to actually grasp the concept and the differences between sexism and misogyny, you can
Mhm.
see from this example that there's things that are sexism that you can say without being misogynistic. But
Yeah.
when somebody then comes in and makes a joke about being sexist, or actually creating stigma around sexism, then that person is a misogynist. I
Yeah.
am. I don't know if there's anything else that you would want to add on that, on our definitions, before we get to the internalized oppression one.
I like the example that you just gave right now when you said boys will be boys, or big boys don't cry, and that's a statement. But when people make fun of things like menstruation that are natural to women, and crack
Right,
jokes out it, and you know show as if it's something that's disgusting, that makes someone less of a human being, then that's misogyny. Maybe to just add on two more examples.
right. Makes
Mm.
total sense. I'm only starting to learn about all of these things now. So, guys, if you have questions, if you want to probe more, please do while we still have Josie here, because it's a difficult concept to understand, but it actually helps us to grow if we can to actually differentiate the two, because one is I can say deeper than the other, or one is more urgent for us to eradicate than the other. For example, I would say, I don't know what you think, it is very, very important for us to get rid of misogyny, because whereas sexism can be something that we get rid of over time when we teach each other, when we have these discussions, misogyny is people that are actually in the way. I don't know what you think, ma'am.
You're very right. Misogyny, it's someone can actually disguise misogyny and practice it on the law, on the under the surface, even though they
Right,
don't say these things, but they still hold misogynistic views. So misogyny can be practiced under the surface, whereas sexism has to be expressed sometimes with words, sometimes with actions. So
right,
misogyny can be taught out of someone. It's a
right.
it's it's something that's deeper than just saying and expressing things in the heat of the moment. It's actually a
Right.
belief system. Yeah.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, please ask your questions. And then internalized oppression. Uh, okay, I have got 2 points of two slides here. It says it's a concept in which an oppressed group uses the methods of the oppressing group against itself. And it occurs when one group perceives an inequality of value relative to another group and desires to be like the more highly valued group.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah. I hear you on that one, and I'd like to just say it's internalized oppression happens to a person or to a group, as you've said, who have long since experienced the ill treatment or unacceptable treatment, and they begin to think that it is normal. And then when
Right.
to think that it is normal, they internalize it and accept
Mm,
it as a way of treating others of a similar group or of a similar nature. So they become the oppressor. They are the ones that then you know um, use the same methods the oppressor uses
yeah.
on their own group or on their own person. So internalized oppression can also manifest through someone oppressing themselves.
Right, right. And that is very dangerous because do you even know that you are oppressing yourself most times? What do you think?
Like a lot of things that come to people through socialization, it's very difficult to see that you're internalizing, you are internally oppressing yourself.
Right.
And even I would like to use an example of myself. As I was
Okay.
preparing for this show, I noticed that to an extent I kind of, you know internally oppress myself. There's a lot of
Mm,
body shaming around plus size women, a lot of
right,
body shaming around women who are of a fuller build. And sometimes
right,
people don't to the table when they are relating to me. Probably they don't even see it. Probably it's not even in their mind, but I'm the one who tends
right,
to bring it up, sort of, without
right,
anyone asking about it or relating to me in that regard. But I'm the one who then mentions and brings it to the table and brings it for consideration in dealing with me.
right,
You
right. So how does that? So I'm actually just thinking about it in terms of self love and all of that. How does that make you show up? So, for example, if you're already given yourself some shame before you actually had to come present, how then do you present yourself? If you can even think about a situation where you had given yourself that doubt before you even went into your room, and people obviously won't even say anything, but you have it at the back of your mind. How does that affect how you present and how you show up?
I think it means you don't show up with your full potential. You don't show
Right.
up as a person. Or let's say you are in a situation here, you have to present something. You are not
Right.
showing up as Josie the presenter. You are showing up as
Right.
Josie the plus size woman who has to
Mm,
present, so that
right.
you won't then bring out your full potential. You won't explore some areas that you have to explore because you want to be right in relation to how you see yourself. You see yourself
Right.
through
Right.
the eyes of people who body shame, and so you want to stay clear of their condemnation, and you want to stay clear of antagonizing them so that they'll bring them this up. So you oppress
Mhm.
yourself, and then you then
Right.
don't show up as fully as you should have.
I can imagine that your brain, instead of
Mm,
fully engaging in the conversation or actually presenting or the present, even the preparation thereof,
yeah.
you have there is a part of that is taken away by what you are actually perceiving of yourself that
Mm,
can be corroborated or not. But at the end of the day, like you said, you can't present what actually you were meant to present, and therefore you will be judged for something that is actually not the full potential or the full, like a true representation of who you are.
yeah.
And I feel like
Mhm.
that is very sad. How else, like this is us talking about how internalized oppression affects you as a person, but as an
Okay.
example, or as trying to explain it to the audience, how does it show up in how you relate to others?
Okay. In how you relate to others is I will continue to use this plus size example because it's personal. I can relate to it, and other also examples that I've encountered. So the thing is,
Right.
if I then come across another plus size person, the way I've been body shamed, I'm the one who will then body shame them.
Okay.
Because and sometimes when I do it, it's even more vicious than the people who were doing it. And as
Mm,
women, also it manifests in that women, we judge ourselves so harshly through the eyes of men, or through the eyes of people who define that an ideal woman should be like this. So whenever I
Right.
see another woman, things that were projected onto me that to mean an ideal woman, I start to make another woman feel like less of a woman because they don't match those things. Even if I don't match them, I suddenly
Right.
become
Right.
the
Right.
also, and I'm even more vicious and even more vocal, more than the
Right.
oppressor. I would like to think that sometimes even if there are men around, they will say things like women are their own worst enemies.
Yeah,
And
and that we are.
yeah, they say things like that based on how we oppose, or we oppress other women because of internalized oppression that we have suffered ourselves. And I've often said the word wure, to mean a loose woman in Shona, has been
Right.
called on women a lot more by other women than by men.
Right. Yeah,
Yes.
that's true actually, if I
Hmm.
think about it. So
Yeah.
so we become subconsciously mean to each other
Yeah.
because we believe something about ourselves that we have been told by society, or
Yeah.
that has been baked in our environment as we're growing up. So
Yeah.
how do we identify it? I guess you're giving me examples, but I'm trying to find a way to get everyone to sort of like see it as it is actually pushing or pulling us women down. In how else is it actually pulling us down, especially in leadership positions at work, in churches? Like I know you mentioned that religion can be part of those groups that are
Yeah.
also oppressed. I'm just wondering if you've got any other examples or any other experiences that you can share to help us enlighten those guys that are subconsciously oppressed and oppressing others.
Okay. I would like to think that a lot of times when we see women move up the ladder in any facet of life,
Right.
uh, other women tend to doubt, the merit of this rising. Other women tend to say things like, "Ah, whom does she know? Whom is she connected to?" It's the
Right.
women who first think that they don't deserve it. It's not out of merit. It's not out of
Right.
their is as a person, not as a woman, because it is
Mhm.
internalized in us that us women, when we get good things, or when we get positions of power, they are given to us rather than we earn them. So we
Right.
then think, when someone has risen up the ladder in the corporate world, in religious circles, who do they know? Whom are they
Mhm.
connected with? And
Right.
what did they to do to get where they are? So
Right. Right.
we then don't embrace our own and support them in their quest to get to the best they can be, because we are so convinced that they got there through other means, not through merit or through hard work or even through
Yes.
qualification. We think,
Mm.
who does no? I've had questions about when boards for companies are announced in the newspaper, people will read the newspaper and say, this one has come into this board. Whom whom is she dating? You know,
Right. Right.
I
Right. Yeah. So at the end of the day, we're shooting ourselves in the foot, because if we start to feel insecure about reaching those heights, we never get representation in those spaces. So we don't have role models as women to
Mhm.
actually strive to be better. And I'm wondering, what kind of beliefs or lessons are we being taught that make us believe that we are these lesser beings, and we do not have the same abilities that our male counterparts in leading in churches, in leading at work, and having in fact having the ability to do some other roles that men can do. So because I'm just wanting to take a step back, because I think we are all on the same page that we do it. But what is it that we've been taught?
Yeah.
What are the kind of sexist beliefs have been embedded in us?
I think we are being taught to view ourselves through the eyes of men a lot from a
Okay.
young. Um, Instead of teaching, or rather inculcating in a girl child that you dress to cover yourself, so that you feel good about yourself. We we
Right.
we we tell them things like, if men see you like that. So
Mm,
their choice of dressing is driven by how a man will see them.
right.
So there's also the question of virginity.
Mm,
Girls are taught a lot about keeping their virginity. I'm a Christian. I
right.
believe much in abstinence until marriage, but I
Right.
believe the way it has been taught. People have been taught that keep your virginity so that you get a good man, so that you get
Right.
married, so that everything is okay with you. But that's not it. We've seen people who've been abused, who've been in abusive marriages, yet they got married while they were
Right.
virgins. We are
Right.
not taught that being a virgin is for yourself. Being a
Right.
virgin is is your decision to make, to choose the person that you think is the honor and is the respect that you require to
Right.
to to relate to you at that level. So we are taught to see ourselves in the eyes of men. And when we get to places, like even when we are going to school, in boarding school, the things that our mothers dispatch us with is,
Yeah.
you will not do this because boys will
Would do. Yeah.
respond to you this way. So we are not
Right.
taught things to do things in order to value ourselves, in order to love ourselves, in order to project ourselves as a person first before we project ourselves as a woman.
Mm, I hear you. I hear you. So it is definitely based on how we are being taught to see ourselves, but also how we are taught to see men. Because
Yeah.
I feel like, fine, let's look at let's look at ourselves, but we are told to view men as these dominant people. I mean, this is the patriarchal society that we've been brought up in. So we are taught to respect them, that we ought to respect them when they are in such positions. But when it comes to women, we have never had anyone to emulate who's in that position. So we don't know how to respect women in that situation. And because we've always thought, or we're taught, I think maybe even indirectly, that it is the men's rightful position. It is only when they are in those positions that we actually can respect. So that being said, we know why, and we can try to rewrite history and to try and get ourselves out of that situation. But I'm still keen on knowing more about how else are we in our own way as women, when it comes to internalized oppression. Do you have any other examples?
I would like to think, when you choose to get married,
Hmm.
and mostly they are women in your own family who also teach you how to go and please a man where you are going.
Okay.
And where
Okay.
in the family where you are going, there are women who are there to make sure that you told the line in respect of the men in that family. So
Right.
wherever the agents of patriarchy, or rather the ones that carry out the work, the foot soldiering of patriarchy, are the women. We are the
Right.
ones who make sure that you told the line. Um i i was thinking the other time that, what, when you are getting married, you're coming from your own home, your own aunties, the tetes, will tell you
Right.
things. You shouldn't dress like this, where there's the father-in-law, where there's this. They don't tell you
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
dressing well is about dressing in a way that suits the situation. They
Mm.
they say you can't dress like that where there is the father-in-law. Not, they don't tell you that dressing well is everything to do with dressing to suit the occasion, to suit
Occasion.
some
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
like that. And like I said, when you go there, it's the sisters of the husband who say, "You, why are you not cooking for a brother by this time? Why do you not do this for our brother? Why do you not do this for the
Yeah.
man?" So they are the ones who tell you that an ideal Makoti, an ideal Murora is like this. And
Mm-hmm.
in the meantime, they are projecting the belief system of the oppressor. In this case, the oppressor is patriarchy. They are
Right.
regulating the beliefs and the tenets of patriarchy. They are not saying us as women, what you think as a woman. They say patriarch expects this of a Murora.
I hear it. And there's this statement that I saw here that you can speak to. I think it's actually talking about what you're saying right now. Steve Biko says the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. You see, even in the work set up, in the people, the men will call you and say, "Have you seen what your friend is doing?" They
right.
send women on errands to check other women. The way she's
Mm,
dressed, makeup that she puts. No, no, you should tell her. They
yeah,
they 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 enlist, or rather enroll you into their army to go and do their work. And then,
right.
as other women who are also oppressed, we feel happy that I'm the one who's considered as the one who dresses better, who dresses
Right.
well, who dresses in an acceptable way by men. So I need to run and tell this one that, in the eyes of men, you are not doing very well.
So we are excited that the dominant group is now looking at us as one of them, or
Yeah.
is sort of, we respect them and we want to be seen as being perfect by them. And so the moment that they approach us to go and reprimand one of our own, which is also doing their bidding
Mhm.
and actually, being a weapon that they use against our own, we
Mhm.
go without question. And
Yeah.
I feel like that a lot of people are not admitting to that because there is shame in that. How can we make each other feel safe to be open about such situations, because it is a psychological thing, right? You because I feel like if admitting to the fact that I've done it also, and I feel like probably I have, I just don't I just don't have an example at the top of my head, but I'm sure that I have actually been an agent for this kind of things. Maybe you did it in a subtle way. Maybe you were entertaining a situation, or maybe you were hearing a story and the first thing that came to your mind was, but you are being emotional, that is like sexist, and then you're speaking on behalf of the men or whatever. How can we make each other feel comfortable to speak about these things and to sort of start to get rid of the fact that we are being used as weapons for the patriarchal system?
I think there's really no method cast in stone, except the starting point of talking about it. The fact
Right.
that we identified it, and you are saying you're also admitting that you've done it. I've done it too. But I'm glad that one day when I thought about it, I was in a classroom where I was doing some course, and this guy mentioned to me that, please, can you tell so and so to not dress this way? And I said, no, I'm not an agent of patriarchy. If you why should I tell you that when I think what she's wearing is actually nice?
Yeah.
You are
Yeah.
not the boss of her or the boss of me. But
Right.
this man had spoken really out of conviction that what he was saying was right and was the right thing to do.
Mm,
The thing is, we need to talk about it. We need to tell our girls these
right.
things. I met many girls, thankfully. And the point of virginity that that I talked about in the first place, I've
Right.
told my daughters that, my daughter, keeping your virginity is not a ticket to a good man who will treat you well.
Right, right,
Why
right,
you keep it. That's not the reason. It's not the driving force. Because one day you encounter things and you think, but I kept myself pure. You keep
right.
yourself pure because of your belief system, because of the way you value yourself, not because of a man. Because a man will not value things that you do not value yourself.
Mm.
So it's
Yeah.
about value yourself. So I think the things that we teach our girls, they have to change, and the way we relate to them. You don't tell your daughter, I have a 7-year-old, my youngest. I can't tell you sit properly. What do you think they do think? What do you think your brother will think? No,
Right.
just properly because it's the right
For
thing
you.
to do for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't teach girls to see themselves through the eyes of a man, through the eyes of another person. And as a Christian woman, I want to believe that women need to know that they are enough in Christ. They don't
Mm.
have to be validated by the eyes of a man. And
Right.
they cannot be given by a man what Christ cannot give them. The ultimate self worth that a woman can feel is only given by Christ. And
Mm.
it
Mm. Mm.
Amen. No matter how much you write, you follow the rule book of patriarchy, you will never be enough.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Right. And stop enforcing it on other people who have chosen
Yeah,
to believe in themselves. Because
yeah,
I feel like you were saying just at the time, that when you become an agent and some men actually ask you to do it, and some people don't even wait to be asked, right? They just decide, well, from what I've been taught, men should want this and I want to enforce it. And then when they see other women actually going against what they believe or what they've been taught, they actually become worse. Like you say, maybe I was never thinking of women being misogynist as well. But as I am talking, I'm actually seeing how women can actually hate other women
mhm,
because they are actually going against the status quo, which is patriarchy. And
mm,
and I see it and I understand it to be a psychological issue. And
yeah,
I want to say to my sisters today that this is a safe space, or this is a safe era and a safe season for us to talk about these things, because these things cannot survive under the light. If we can say, we understand, my sister, that you are coming here to reprimand me on behalf of patriarchy. It's not your fault. It's because we all grew up in the system and we were made to believe it from a young age, that women cannot be this, women cannot be that, girls cannot be this, girls cannot be that. But I have chosen to look at myself, like you said, in the eyes of Christ. And
yeah,
Christ said, I can do all things. And by
mhm,
all things, it means that whatever I set my mind to, and whatever I decide I want to use my gift for, and if it comes easily, and if Christ is directing my path, I am choosing to believe in myself and not in the system. So why don't you try it my way? And you can find that a lot of these people, when you push on the agenda of I'm going to do this, they start to actually open up and say, I also
yeah,
feel a bit sad when men do this to me, when I'm made to look at myself as lower than these people. So
okay.
I'm so excited that we're talking about this, and I wanted to find out what you think we do, or how we relate to the dominant group, like for people to check how they are internally oppressed. How do you separate the respect that you just give the men in your life and the respect that's coming from the fact that you are internally oppressed?
Let's not forget that being internally oppressed, has connotations of ill treatment and unacceptable treatment. That was, that you have witnessed or experienced, and you then start accepting it as the norm. Something that made you uncomfortable, and you
Mm,
start making it look like it's the norm. We all know, if you grew up in the ghetto like me, how much it was difficult to pass through a place where boys are sitting, because they
right.
shout and they say things, and we begin to accept them as normal. And then when we see other women, We do it subtly by looking up and down, up and down. We look
Mm,
at the woman and sometimes make these comments. We
right.
don't relate to them as a person first, but it's this oppression that we felt when we were when insults and comments were held at us and we remained quiet. Also
Right.
because we are socialized not to return fire for fire. They
Mm,
they keep aggression inside them, and then they then project it onto other women. Have you
right.
not gotten into a room where women are, and the way you are looked at without them saying anything?
You're
You're
undressed.
so conscious of yourself. The same
Mm,
way that those boys used to do to you when you're sent to buy a carton of milk, when you're sent to buy bread. You feel the same way when women look up and down and, they evaluate you by their eyes. And some
right.
even go to say comments. So
Right.
I think we need to always, as we discuss this, to know that internalized oppressions has connotations of ill treatment and unacceptable treatment that we think is normal. I do not want to ignore the fact that us as women, we are sisters keepers. Sometimes
Right.
when I take and point out something that you need probably to pay attention to or to correct or a concern. Sometimes it's not just internalized oppression or being
Mm,
an agent of patriarchy. You do it from a position of understanding what your sister is going through,
going through.
and those two things, those two scenarios are very distinct, because then I don't come to you as, the way you're addressing the men here, even saying this.
Right.
I
Right.
few things like, Angie, dress the way you want to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm empowering you to face your situations and to face your environments.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Right. Wow, that is so deep because actually I hadn't thought of it in the way that we relate to other women, that we can easily start to see everything as internalized oppression, where there is an element of trying to empower each other. But like you said, we have to be very, very intentional about how we're delivering any criticism, so such that we are not also creating an abusive situation where oppression is going to continue.
Mm.
I think what I'm still failing, and I'm going to try and put you on the spot here, Mami, that where where it comes to, say, for example, sexism and misogyny, and we're looking at it really because women sort of like pull each other down, and that's because they actually believe subconsciously that men are more important. And I want to be able to identify, on a personal note, I want to be able to identify the woman that is just respecting men just because they're men, and a woman who is respecting men because they were taught to respect men, but this is not the kind of men that you can respect, if you get what I mean.
I like that you use the word respect, because respect relates to both, genders, to both men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Respect is seeing a person as worth being a person. It has
Right.
nothing to do with putting someone at a pedestal at your own expense. It is
Right.
not seeing your self-worth through the eyes of someone. So
Right.
respecting is definitely different from you know burning yourself to keep others warm. It's
Uh-huh.
definitely different from you know belittling yourself so that someone feels big. So respect is someone that is something that we owe to everyone. Even my
Right.
own child needs to be respected by me, for us to
Right.
relate, to respect them as someone who is their own mindset, their own likes, dislikes, a person who is agency. So
Right.
we would like to be clear there that
Okay.
respect not putting someone in a position where you belittle yourself and you put them in a dominant position, and your self-worth is only through their eyes, and it's only measured through their
Yes.
projection of how you should be.
Okay. So I think you've actually cleared it up for me, because this is almost like the person who's internally oppressed is someone who's hero worshipping. It doesn't. It's regardless of how this person shows up. It's just because by the mere fact that you are a man, we have to listen. Excuse me. You have to listen to me, or we have to listen to him, and we all have to respect them. So respect, because we feel, even as we are hero worshipping, we are feeling that is respect. So in our culture, in some spaces, this is a man that is abusive or whatever, you still have to act like you respect them, even if the feeling that comes when you see them or when you interact with them is not, that they don't bring out that feeling of respect. And I guess what people need to think about is, like, we are saying do enough work. We're saying pay attention to your feelings. And if you wanted to see if you are you're working as an agent of patriarchy, you can actually easily see it or feel it, because with the person that you are respecting shouldn't make you feel like you are dimming your light or you are less of yourself. That's what I got from what you said. And I have got this quote here that I found. It says,
Mhm.
until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate.
Yeah.
I found
How,
it very interesting. I don't know
mm,
what you think about it before I go on.
how true. I actually think this is what we are talking about. That
Mm,
if we don't talk about these things to make us aware that they exist, we will
yeah.
think it's our fate. We will think it's the norm. It's how we should live, when it's not. So there is so much truth in that quote.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, I was just wanting to reinforce the fact that the subconscious mind, as we have talked about it, is very strong, and it's going to direct our paths. It's going to direct how we respond if we do not bring the thoughts or the feelings that are in our subconscious to the consciousness. And when we have, during this talk right now, I'm thinking, I'm hoping that someone is actually starting to think about their actions and the things that they've done, how it has been against themselves or against other women, and starting to interrogate how it can be different and where the root of that is. But we want to also, before we go now, look at what is the, like, someone could say, oh well, the situation that we have right now, the patriarchal society is not so bad, it's working for me. uh, they might be oblivious to the damage, besides just oppressing another person, to themselves and the future generations. What are the effects that we find that are caused by internalist oppression?
As we spoke about earlier, that people then don't show up with their full potential. They don't
Mm,
have self-esteem. They are constantly looking for validation from elsewhere. They
right,
don't believe that if the validation is not there, that they can actually be who they are and still
right,
make a good job out of it.
right.
So mental health issues around that.
Uh-huh.
Um, there is even downplaying your own abilities, and the fact that you reinforce and reaffirm the negative stereotypes that were projected onto you by an oppressor, means that you constantly battle with them, and you constantly have to deal with them whenever you have to do something. That means you are not in the right state of mind whenever you want to do something. You have
Mm,
self-doubt. You have low self-esteem. You feel like you don't measure up, and
right,
feeling like you don't measure up can be a big thing, can even lead to depression in some people.
right.
Feeling like good enough, feeling
Mm,
like, I will never be this kind of person, because yeah, it's unattainable.
right.
So has far-reaching effects than we think. And there are times when we think people are quite confident. When they are not, they are busy faking it. And when
Right.
they've the platforms where they have to exhibit confidence, they are a wreck inside, and that's not healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually quite eye-opening that you mentioned unfulfilled potential can actually become the reason why you become depressed, because I'm thinking about it as from a biblical sense of sense is we all have purpose embedded in us. We were born with it. We find it and we recognize it, but it was already there. And so there's a natural way to us that we are fighting when we are listening to the oppressor.
Yeah.
So when you are trying to show up as what society and the system has told you to, and then your true self is also fighting to come out because you have to fulfill your purpose, you have to live in your purpose, then you're
Mm.
in conflict, you're in constant conflict. And I can think about it as sometimes, because you want to impress the dominant side, the males in this case, you can actually even feel shame for not being able to measure up to what they want, because your natural self says otherwise. Your natural
Mm.
self wants to be out there dressing in the way you want, being expressive, because maybe God called me to be an artist, and that is
Mm.
how I want to present. I like piercings, I like all of these things, and this is my comfortable space. But the system is telling me something else, and so I feel ashamed for wanting what I want, for wanting to pursue what I want, but I can't. And so I'm in this state that just leaves me stuck. And I don't know if there's anyone who's feeling that way, but I can see that as a big mental health issue, like you said, and it is a barrier to loving ourselves and to showing up authentically. And we can then continuously create these systems forever, and that's sort of like maintaining inequality. So if you're doing that, your girls are going to see you do that. They're going to start learning from those teachings and lessons without you actually saying anything, and they carry it in their lives. I don't know if you have more points to that. I could go on.
To reinforce, I said earlier that a lot of my worldview is shaped by my Christian beliefs. And
Uh-huh.
I would like to say that sometimes we've internally oppressed ourselves as Christian women. We are we want the stigma, we project the stigma that's exerted on Christians, on others. Like we say things like isuoma Kristu tinozozvinyanya,
Eh,
God everywhere. But
right,
the thing is, as a Christian woman, there's really no need for you to be apologetic about it, because someone thinks you are bringing God into everything. But if God shapes your belief system, own it, and move on. I'm not saying if God shapes my belief system, then He should shape yours. But I'm telling you where I stand, how my worldview is shaped.
right,
So I would like to reinforce that. As women, or rather as the oppressed in any facet, there's a confidence and a self-worth that no one else can give other than Christ, that
right.
no one else can impart onto you other than Christ. So
Mm.
we need to continue these conversations even in our own private spaces, and even in our own circles of friends, so that we tend to identify the things that we think are normal, and yet uh, are actually, practices of internalized oppression.
Wow, wow. I like that. I think so. We've got a comment here. I just wanted to see. Oh, it says, say that again, Josie. So basically, everyone is agreeing that we cannot be agencies of the oppressor. We cannot be used as the weapons of the oppressor, because we then tend to oppress ourselves and to oppress others, and we are not doing anyone any favors. In any situation, we should just, I think the conversations have to keep going on, because for me, it was the first time actually understanding the term. So before you understand it, you cannot be able to identify it. And with people like you that have understood it, it helps us to actually find the examples practically that can help us to see or be aware of the fact that this thing is actually there. And it's not only with sexism and misogyny, right? It's with racism, it's with
Yeah.
any oppressed group. We are part of a lot of oppressed groups, unfortunately. uh, there's so many things that are happening, and first of all, let's identify so that we don't do it to ourselves, and then let's not reinforce it with everyone else. So I think we are almost running out of time. I just want some last remarks on this going forward, and yeah, we can close.
I wanted to just add that someone on Twitter mentioned that internalized oppression is kind of like a pick me, oppressor pick me kind of attitude. You say the right things that you know the oppressor will approve of you. Even on social media, you see women commenting things like on stories about rape and stuff like that, and they say things like, "Where was she going at that time of the night? Where was
Yeah,
she
yeah, yeah.
behaving like?" As women, sometimes we also go overboard. So this pick me attitude, check yourself. If you are not projecting the pick me attitude, pick me, approve of me, oppressor. You know, things like saying like black people, when you're also black, you are
Yeah,
saying white people approve of me because
yeah.
I'm the one who thinks better than other black people. So check yourself each time that you think you are better than the group that is also oppressed along with you.
Oof. That is a good one. As a woman, as a black person, as whatever it is that what group you are in, you have to ask yourself if you are not trying to impress your oppressor. Because the moment you're doing that, you are actually oppressing your group. I actually hadn't thought about it that way. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think we can leave from my side. I just also wanted to continue to ask this question that I found that Zeb Xaba, I actually asked on her TED talk, to say, in what way are you contributing to inequality by turning a blind eye to internalized oppression? Because you might be one of the woke people, you might be the
Mm.
one of those people that have found self-love and you're good, but you cannot ignore the fact that this thing is there and is actually contributing to inequality. And if you could if we could all be doing or working for, almost like saying, being one, working together to be better people, we would be able to question other people. We'd be able to light the flame of
Yeah.
of these kind of conversations in every situation or in every sphere of influence, so that we can change the world one step at a time. Josie, I am so excited that we managed to even unpack this, because it was going to be very difficult for me to do it alone. I'm so honored that we managed to talk about this together. Yeah, we I'm happy. I don't know about you.
I'm happy, but I feel like this is quite a broad subject, which I'm looking forward that you can probably bring someone else onto the show some other
Okay.
time and continue with this series and probably make it a series, because I think it's broader than what we brushed today. There's a lot more that we did not cover, a lot more that we did not look at, especially from a point of view of being black and being a woman and being a Christian and being from Zimbabwe even. So
Right.
I think this is broader than what we've managed to touch on, and I'm hoping that someone has picked something and has identified tendencies of internalized oppression in themselves or in their environment, and probably start talking about it and try to bring it to the fore so that people can change and people can be aware that it is really there and it contributes to inequality.
Indeed. I'm definitely going to bring you back for a panel discussion so that we can discuss what you've just actually told me, because I thought of it, being a woman, being a black woman, being a Zimbabwean woman is a trifecta that can be that can stand your
Yeah.
growth. And I feel like just talking about that stories around that kind of a woman would actually help a lot of people. But part two, we're definitely going to be talking to somebody else about the blackness and racism and colonialism. So
Yeah.
I think just getting everyone to understand what internalized oppression is the first thing that we did today, and we'll continue to have these conversations. So thank you again. Have a lovely evening. Until we see each other.
Bye.
Yes.